Okay, it's day 2 of this sort of new thing that we're trying at the channel, and if you're interested in one of these 3 shoes, and we're talking about the Nike Dunk High. Now, I've seen these called Up or Rebel, but I know all 3 of them are women's. There's the Varsity Maize, there's the Summit White, and there's the Iron Purple. 3 different colorways coming in that sort of tweaked Dunk High vibe, a bit like the Air Force One Shadow line is what we're kind of hearing. Now, there's I don't want to spend too much time on this, but basically talking about getting these on the sneakers app from Japan, where I live, and maybe, just maybe, getting them a little bit early and a little bit at cost. Not a little bit at cost, actually at cost, for anybody who's interested out there. So check out a video down below, linked in the description, about how you can get these shoes at cost from the sneakers app in Japan. And then I'll just park all that and we'll just get into the shoe. It's a regular thing we're doing at the channel now, trying to sort of tie that sneakers app from Japan up with the rest of the world. And it's kind of a new thing, an interesting thing, and something that might just get you guys the sneakers that you want where you can't get them in your local sort of sneakers apps and drop places. So but all of that's described in that other video down below, so I'm not going to waste time on that. I'm just going to dive straight in and go into these 3 shoes. Like I said, let's bring up the Varsity Maize first and have a good look at that one, since that's probably the poppingest of the 3 colorways that are coming in. I think I already said August 17th. What I didn't say was 14,300 yen, which is about $1,143, and the drop date August the 17th. So the Varsity Maize is probably the most poppingest of the 3 colorways, and then you've also got the white Summit White, I think it is actually, which looks very similar to the next shoe that comes in the line. So you've got these guys are very white, very stripped back, and then just a little bit more on top of that is you've got the sort of Iron Purple one as well. So the 3 different colorways coming along, and like I said, I've seen these called Ups and I've seen them called Rebels, and I know for sure that they're women's, and they're designed for women's sizes. And there's a weird thing on the sneakers app here in Japan. I don't know about where you guys are in the world, but basically I think it's the purple ones, that the purple iron ones, that have a size run that goes up to 26 centimeters. That's how sizes are done here in Tokyo, Japan, is in centimeters and not in inches, or however other ways that people do their shoe sizing. So centimeters is a big deal, and those purple ones come up to 26 for some reason on the sneakers app, but the other 2, the Varsity Maize and then the white Summit White ones, go up to 29 centimeters. And the big thing about all of this is that I go up to 30.5 centimeters, so it's very rare for the sneakers app to have shoes in my size, and that's why I can grab these guys for somebody out there, because they don't come in my size, but I'll grab them for you and pass them on to your retail if that's what you're looking for. So but anyway, so it's 3 shoes that we're looking at today, and they're a kind of tweaked version of the Dunk High, and we've been talking about that a little bit at the channel in the last few weeks, where we've seen a few different silhouettes that have been around for a long time. We're talking Air Force Ones, 39 years of that beautiful silhouette. Dunks, either highs or lows, 36 years of the Dunk silhouettes. And what they've been doing at both of those lines, Air Force Ones and Dunks, after having exactly the same silhouette for more than 3 decades, is starting to play around with that and tweak it a little bit. And sometimes it works really well, and sometimes not so well, as the experimental Air Force Ones, which has got like a covering, a cloak on the outside that looks frankly awful. And then also you get things like the Dunk Low. There was a women's one. It's not Rebel, it's something else, and they've tweaked that, and not many people happy with those, and I wasn't all that happy with the Dunk Low Scraps that dropped recently as well, another one that tweaks that classic silhouette. But these guys, it's basically a Dunk High with a couple of little additions, and I already talked about those Air Force One Shadows, which is a women's sort of line over there at the Air Force One line, and there are similarities to these guys here, and their design and the style there. So and speaking of similarities, you better go into those Maize guys, because the Varsity Maize is, if you can't look at that and guess where I'm going with my next comment, then I'll be absolutely surprised. But we're going to this right here. That's the Blazer Mids Sakai's, which is one of the biggest shoes of the last, 3 years. Not only for its design of the double swishes and double tongues and double laces and extra sort of mud guards and stuff that come out of the midsole, but also the collaboration to Sakai's one of the biggest, collaborations in recent times, and that particular colorway is probably the most distinctive one. And then if we flip it back to today, you can see the similarities in there in color, but also the layering effect on these ups or rebels, whichever one you want to call them, is very, very similar to that Sakai Blazer Mid with its layering effect, especially if you look at the swooshes. So we'll go to the swoosh first, and you see the double swooshes on there. So if you read this on paper, double swooshes, you'd think, oh, the Sakai and these rebels, they have the double swooshes. That's the same thing, but they're very, very different in their construction and their material. Construction wise, it's the size that matters, and you see the regular size swoosh on there in the dark blue, but then layered on top of that a much smaller swoosh in red. Now if this was a Sakai, they'd be the same size, even though they'd be in different colors. And then the lower of the two, again, the dark blue one on there, it comes in the leather, the standard sort of leather materials, but the smaller red swoosh above it comes in an embroidered and a stitched material. So that's what it looks like on the sort of easiest to see of the shoes, because the Varsity Maize, with all their distinctive colors kind of running through the shoe, is very easy to see the different patches on there. But then when you go over to, let's go with the purple ones first, you see the iron purple, you see the swoosh and how they're dealing with those double swooshes on the side. It's still there, the material is still the same and the structure is still the same, but it's the color that's interesting now, and it's getting a bit more difficult to see because we're getting into much lighter pastel colors. And then across to the white ones, the Summit white ones, you can see it's very white shoe and difficult to see those hits on there. Another detail on these guys that goes back to that shadow Air Force Ones is up onto the ankle. If you have a look at the ankle straps up there, the ankle supports, you can see that they aren't quite snug to the upper, and there's a sort of bit of a gap between the ankle straps and the upper itself, which is a really big signature feature of those Air Force One shadows, and you can see it sort of brought forward here. And just as a little note, this is a very important place to look in terms of material, because you can see the quality of the materials that are used in that leather panel that supports the ankle and the heel of these guys. And then if we come forward from that towards the quarter line and the lacing system, what you should be able to see on there is a sort of second layer behind the actual upper layer, and it seems to be in some kind of different material, where the upper is in leathers, but that second sort of sticky outy bit seems to be in some kind of plastic or something thinner than the natural materials. Now it's very easy to see again on the Varsity Maizes, because there's just so much contrast in the colours that you're easy to see these kind of details. So first we'll focus in on that to give you an idea of what we're looking at, and it's a red and a blue playing off against each other, the blue being the panel of the upper and the red being the little panel that's sticking out from behind that. So if you fixate on that part of the shoe and then we flip it out to those iron purples, you can see how that's dealt with there, with the grey and the purple contrasting against each other, and then the Summit whites, where it's very difficult to see, but you can see the difference between the two materials. Again, which is a signature feature of the shoe, the layering effect. Another signature feature of the shoe is the outsoles, and again, it's the Varsity Maizes that make this easiest to see. So let's jump in there and have a look at those guys, because of that white outsole in the center there, and then it's bordered with the dark border around the edge, so you can really see that distinctive outsole double unit on there. And not only that, but the actual outsole element of the shoe, rather than looking at the border, but the outsole itself is designed in a different way that you would normally get for dunk highs. So it's another sort of signature feature. And then the final thing I think I want to do in this video is just have a look at all three insoles one after the other, because the tongues and the insoles have their own sort of distinctive branding going on. So we'll look at the Varsity Maize first. You can see looking down from above, a whole collection of whites and blues and reds to sort of match the rest of the shoe, both on the tongue branding and on the insole. And then as you trade that out, exactly what you'd expect for the iron purples, with a bit sort of less in your face colouring than you have with the Varsity Maize. And then we go across to those Summit whites, and it's stripped right back to a very sort of standard black and white style branding, both on the tongues and on the insoles on these guys. And that's a pretty good place to finish it up and leave this. Hopefully for the thumbnail, I'll have put up one of those hybrid thumbnails where all three shoes are visible, like the toe from one, the midfoot from another, and the heel from the other. I've been finding it really hard to keep on top of things at the channel these days. Just not enough time in the day, not enough hours in the day, and thumbnails are one of the things I'm struggling to do. I'm struggling to hit my 7 o'clock drop time, and I'm struggling to have thumbnails on every one of my videos. They come a bit later than they probably should, the thumbnails, but I'm going to try and keep at it. I'm going to try and hold on to this daily content, especially for another like 3 weeks, because at the end of August we get to that magical 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube, and it'd be horrible in the last month before getting to 1,000 consecutive days to lose that streak just because I'm tired or running out of time or stuff like that. So thumbnails and all that kind of stuff, try my best to keep up with them, but the priority is just to get the content up there every single day. And sometimes it's like the 11th hour, the last hour of the day, and I'm getting the content up there finally and keeping the streak going. So fingers crossed we can keep doing that. And also the latest thing at the channel, like I said, people who want to get their hands on certain shoes, tell me down below your shoe size, and when these guys drop on August I think it's the 17th, I will try and get them in your size, and then it's basically a case of you give me the money that they cost, no profit for me in that, and me sending you the shoe. But of course, cost wise, it's the cost of the shoe and the delivery, don't forget that. Okay, that's enough for today. Wrapping up another video to get that in the bag. Today is the last day of the Olympics, which is August the 8th, and this video will probably go up on August the 10th, and the shoes are dropping on August the 17th, so it's a perfect fit for me. For now though, time to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content. The only thing left to do is to say thanks for looking in, and then remind you that I do this every single day, and because I do it every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.